What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. How Tesla's looking so far as this thing's continuing to uptrend, looking very, very strong. And what's going on with the news affecting Nvidia and Apple and other tickers out there. But before I break anything down about all of this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon, in just about 3 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down how Tesla's looking, as this thing is looking very strong for the day. Tesla's currently up about 9% as of right now, almost 10%. This thing is on a roll, and this thing is continuing to absolutely kill it. But the question is, how will Tesla move going forward? And also, what on earth should you be watching for in the markets? Well, when it comes to Tesla, we had some very, very bullish news. Basically, in case you guys missed my earlier video, Morgan Stanley's important analysts have come out and they're very, very bullish on Tesla. They're giving Tesla a $400 price target. They're talking about the fact that Tesla's Dojo supercomputer is going to help it continue to grow. They're talking about the AI development robotaxi that is continuing to help this company. And once again, it's very, very bullish news for the company. They have a $400 price target, and I can't wait for what the future holds as a result of that. So as soon as this news came out, I basically was calling out the possibility of Tesla continuing to push up. I told you all that once we open, it should be a gap and go, and Tesla should continue pushing. We opened a little slow. We were actually very sideways for the very beginning. We saw Tesla gap up like this, push. It was trading sideways right here. So this was like right after the pre-market. It was very sideways. Tesla was trading sideways for the first hour and a half. Then finally we started to see momentum build up, and Tesla broke out, breaking the high of 266. I told you if this breaks, expect this thing to get very close to 270 or higher. And Tesla went all the way up to 270. It actually broke that. Now it's in the 272s. Continuing to hold up quite nicely. So we got a small rejection off 273, but the next critical resistance is actually 274 to 275. And if we get above 275, this thing could push to 277.5, then potentially 280 as the next resistance levels. As of right now, it looks like Tesla has some resistance now. It's going to like maybe cool off just a little bit, but it's going to be very, very minor. It's still holding above 272 quite nicely, also 270, and is still looking quite strong. But the question is, okay, why on earth did the market start off kind of weak before it started to bounce? And we actually had some bad news that came out for Apple and Nvda that led the market to slowing down a little bit. You can see even Tesla slowed down a bit with the little drop we got before the market continued pushing. So what was the news? Basically, Qualcomm and Apple have extended the modem supply agreement. This is very important because they extended it until 2026, and this is on the eve of the iPhone 15 possible introduction. Now, why is this important? Here's the answer. Apple basically gets its chips from Qualcomm. They're the supplier. And Apple was telling us back in 2020 that, hey, we are basically going to be making our own chips. We're going to supply our own chips ourselves. And they've been saying that, but it hasn't happened just yet. So they instead have been getting their chips from Qualcomm. And instead of just trying to make their own chips, trying to do it again, instead, they're going to be extending the agreement for an extended period of time, which means that Apple will keep on getting their supplies from Qualcomm for many years if this continues. And that's the exact opposite of what they told investors, right? They told us that very soon they're going to be making their own. So this is showing some signs of developmental delays for the company. And that's why we started to see Apple slow down. There's also some talks about Qualcomm's revenue dropping by 19% over the next year. There's a possibility of that too, because of the slowdowns in iPhone sales. There is some talks about that amidst this high interest rate environment in the US, and also because of economic factors in other countries. So with all this negative news for Qualcomm and this, these news headlines coming out about developmental delays for Apple, that slowed Apple down a little bit. There was also news about Intel pushing Nvidia chip competition amidst the crazy AI frenzy. And they're talking about this because of the fact that Intel said that it had its AI accelerator chip and it's benefiting from the shortage of chips by Nvidia. This is some big news because Nvidia has some big demand Lots of people are buying and buying and buying these chips from Nvidia. They're supplying so many companies, and the problem is they're not really keeping up with the amount of demand for these chips, right? It's like a big hub for them, especially for AI development. So Intel is saying that this slowdown, this backlog, is benefiting them with their new AI chip. Is going to help them by getting better access to GPUs. That is big news for them. And with this competition increasing, we saw a lot of negative headlines about Nvidia today. Investors talking about selling Nvidia slowdowns, Nvidia potentially missing. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying what the headlines have been saying. And for that reason, we started to see Nvidia slow down. So lots of negative news came out for Nvidia, new competition amidst another massive, massive company. That's what slowed Nvidia down. That's why Nvidia is underperforming. So when it comes to the market, just as a big reminder, there's not too much data coming out for tomorrow. But as a reminder, Apple has a very, very big event ahead of us. It's going to happen tomorrow in the afternoon for people in the East Coast. And when this event happens, I'm going to talk more about this later on. It's going to have a big effect on the market. So make sure you're prepared for this. It's going to affect Tesla and etc. Be prepared nonetheless. So as far as Tesla goes, Tesla is now kind of like range trading. It's still very, very strong overall, a very strong uptrend for the bigger structure. We're hitting some tight resistance around this like 273 zone. So we're watching it now kind of like range trading between 272 to 273, going back and forth and back and forth. Completely normal, nothing wrong with that. It still is up pretty big. And once we approach the 10% mark, when we're up like 10%, that's when we tend to see stocks slow down a little bit. That's what's happening to Tesla so far. So we're going to be watching it carefully. It's looking quite good. And I don't want to be like a jerk when I say this, but it wouldn't be intelligent to be trying to buy calls way up here. It's better to wait for some kind of like pullback, wait for a very, very good entry. Don't just FOMO into calls for no reason. You have to be very, very careful with how you enter during plays like this. Even when it's like pushing up very nicely on a strong uptrend, you have to be careful because, we've been pumping so much already. And getting a slight cool off is always a possibility. That's the reason why you have to be careful with those entries, right? So how do I see Tesla so far? It's range trading up here. It's not necessarily cooling off just yet or doing anything like that. So it's kind of like choppy up here, going back and forth a bit between the 272 to 273 area. It may continue to do so for a while, but we're going to see which way it breaks. If it does try to break higher, it could get closer to like 275. But like I said before, we've been pumping so much all day. We're almost up 10%. So like I said, be a little bit careful and be careful with your entries. Don't just FOMO for no reason. Have some logic behind your entries. So if you see some kind of like pullback off a very, very good fib level or a pullback based off of like support, that could be a good entry for a long position. Or if it's the exact opposite, people can also be looking for short positions on different tickers. So I just want to be honest with everyone, right? You want to be hunting for opportunities, not chasing after them. That's the way to go about it when trading, in my opinion. Non-financial advice. Anyways, for SPY, when we zoom out, there's a clear uptrend. You guys can see it's been making higher highs and higher lows for the last couple of days. And now it's continuing to pump. We got this little drop right here off the Aapl sell-off we saw in the morning. Nice accumulation right over here with the inverse head and shoulders and a push to the upside, getting very close to 449, getting very close to fill the gap. I think SPY is going to continue to push, get very close to 449 very soon. Looks quite strong, but we are approaching some tough resistance at 448.5. I still think it's going to hold up. It's looking quite decent so far. Tesla's now trying to push a little higher, but it's still in its range. Not looking bad whatsoever. Not looking bad. So watch your levels carefully and look for potential good entry opportunities. Remember to hunt and do not chase. For Apple stock, this thing came down amidst the bad news in the morning, but we got a very, very nice bounce, and Apple's trying to push towards this 180 resistance. We're getting very close to this imbalance right here, this 180 area, so I think that's going to be a target. Still looks quite good, and we're going to be watching it tomorrow as we have the big event unfolding. Overall, not bad from Apple. Watch 179 as support. Watch 179.5 as some resistance, and then 180. And 180 is going to be a key level. It's pushing and looking more bullish. QQQ looks more bullish. I was talking about 377. That was my target since yesterday. Where is it right now? 376.9. So it's getting very close, very, very close to our target. Very, very nice accumulation structure, inverse head and shoulders. Continuing to pump thanks to Tesla, continuing to hold up nicely. Nvidia was a little bit weak Unfortunately, we had some bad news, which is why we got an aggressive sell-off, and we broke below some critical support, which is not a good sign. We broke below 448. We're trying to rebound right now, but we're going to be watching the 50 EMA around this 452 area acting as resistance. That's where we got this rejection, or very close to that, just under that actually. And it's not looking that great for Nvidia. It still looks relatively weak compared to the market. So you're going to be watching 450 as support. We got to try to hold that. Then we have 448 below that as critical support. We are above it, but overall, we did break it temporarily earlier today, so it's not a good sign. Let's see if Nvidia could try to kind of like range trade around this area, around the 450 zone. Let's see if we could try to close above 450. And then after this, it's going to depend on Apple stock, because tomorrow is going to be Apple's day. That's going to be the big thing for the market, so make sure you're ready for that. And it's going to have a big effect on Nvidia too, so make sure you watch it all very carefully. I do want to note Nvidia looks relatively weak, not looking that great, because we got this unexpected bad piece of news. And overall, we just have to see how it holds support for the time being. There could be a big change in market structure developing, especially on the 4-hour time frame. Not really a change, but just a continuation of this like bearish market structure. So with that said, I mean, we were below our 200 EMA too, not looking that great on the 4-hour. Just watch it. It's very close to critical support still, 448 to 450. So it's still in a decent position, but overall looking kind of weak. So be careful with Nvidia. Be very mindful of what the headlines say about it, and do what you have to do. Anyways, with that said, the VIX continuing to drop, getting very, very close to this gap down here. There's another gap like even lower than this actually. There's another gap down here. So if the market does pump more tomorrow, thanks to Apple, we could see the VIX come down to fill this gap if we break below this support on this 13.75 area. And then with that said, the dollar, it's also rejecting. It breaks and rejects off this 105 area. Could continue to downtrend, which is bullish for the markets. That once again is looking quite bullish so far for the stock market. The dollar is showing some weakness. And with that said, that's pretty much it. Meta's at 307 at resistance. Let's see if we can try to break this. It actually broke the high we had previously, because it's been very like sideways for quite some time. 310 is on the table if it continues to break out. Still looks strong. Nice job from Meta. Amazon broke above 140. That was my target of 140. I actually went to 142, so a little bit higher. And we're going to be watching it approach the previous resistance I was looking at earlier. We have this resistance right about here. 143.63 was the level. Watch this high. We could see Amazon get very close to that. I do want to note that there is a bearish divergence developing on the RSI though, but there's no guarantee just yet, because we're still bullish on the MACD. So it looks more bullish overall still, even though there is a bearish divergence developing. There's no sign of it playing out just yet, and we could end up invalidating this as time goes on. So I'm going to be watching to see if Amazon can break the high of the day and potentially get to the 143s. Anyways, thank you all so much for listening. Tesla's still looking quite strong. But always be very, very careful with how you enter on positions. You want to be looking for very, very good looking opportunities, and you just want to be looking for what opportunities are given to you on a day-to-day basis. So always remember, you must hunt and not chase, because when you develop the habit of hunting for opportunities, it's going to improve your trading journey. Okay, so thank you for listening. Have a great day. Do what you have to do. Tesla's getting very close to this like 375 area, still looking quite strong, and we will see how this moves going forward. Anyways, have a great day. Tesla in the market to the moon, because the long term is very bright, and peace out.